Let's start a new app called Student Picker. Basically the idea is we have a list of our students available on the screen, and when we shake the device it's going to randomly choose a student to call on or to ask a question. In order to do this, I'm going to start with a text box, and beside that text box I want to have a button, and these together you type a name and push add. Well, to get those side by side I'm going to use a horizontal arrangement. So I can put my text box in there, and then I can put my button in there. Now I want the button 1, I'm going to make that one say add. And to make this thing fill up the screen, I'm going to say text box 1 width will be fill parent. And the parent in this case is going to be the horizontal arrangement. Well, if I want the whole thing to be as wide as the screen, the horizontal arrangement's width also needs to be fill parent, and the parent of the horizontal arrangement is screen 1. So to make both of those have a width of fill parent, then we have a full-size text box with an add button. Now if we look at that in the emulator, it's going to say hint for text box 1. I kind of want to change that. I want it to say add a student. And I think that'll make it take. And in the emulator now it says add a student. So I can type a student here and then say add. I'm going to change the title of screen 1. Just clicking on screen 1 in the components list. You could also click it over here in the viewer. And then I'm going to change the title of that from screen 1 to student picker. There, I'm done with that. Now, if I want to display a list of things on my screen, the easiest way to display a list of things is to actually use what's called a list view. That's under user interface, and it's called a list view. It's right there. Drag it and drop it. Now list view is it's going to look a little different in your emulator once you get some things in it. When you have no list, you basically get nothing. So a list is composed of elements. It's items in a list. I could say, you know, Bob, Kim, Sue, Sally. And when I click outside here, we'll see that Bob, Kim, Sue, and Sally are in my list. And in the emulator, you can see that they behave like list items. You can click on them. You can, if this list is too big, you can scroll it like you would scroll with a finger. Right. Well, instead of typing the names of the students in directly into App Inventor, we want to create an app that lets whoever uses this app enter those students' names themselves. So let's get going with that. The challenge is type a name in a box, push add, and then we want that to show up in the list picker. So over in blocks, we first of all need to make a variable. A variable is a named value that's going to have the ability to change. So I'm going to say initialize global Walter list of names Bob. We're going to make it an empty list. That comes from our lists group, and create an empty list. So now list of names is an empty list. Yeah. So now we have a list of names. I guess what we want to do is to be able to type the name in the text box and have it push his button 1, the add button. We want to add the name of the person to our list of names. So when someone clicks button 1, we want to add items to a list. The list we're adding to is our list of names. If I just hover over that, I get this getter. And I can say list of names is our list. And the item that we want to add is text box 1's text. Text box 1's text. Now there's a couple of things going on here that will cause this app, you'd think that it would work, because it says here, start me out with an empty list. When I click button 1, add whatever text you put in here, for instance, Bob, and click add, and it doesn't appear to do anything, but it actually did do something. We just can't see it. What we have to do is we have to update list view 1's elements. Remember over here when we typed list view 1's elements, we typed this in. Well, basically setting list view 1's elements is like typing a new list of things in. set list view 1's elements to that list of names. So we go back up here, we use the getter, we get list of names again. So now this says when button 1 is clicked, add the name you typed into the list of names and update my list view to show me that list. I don't remember what name I typed in first. Oh, I do know because it's here, it's Bob. If I back up over this and then I say Kim, and then I click add, we should see Bob and Kim both appear because Bob was actually in the list, but we just couldn't see that. And so now Bob and Kim are in the list. And if we add a bunch of names, I'm going to go with Kim because Kim's in the box, then we can scroll this thing like it was a list. Okay? So to make this a little more user-friendly, I think I want to clear out this text box after I push add so I don't keep hitting and adding Kim. So I don't actually want to hit Kim, I just don't want to add Kim a bunch. So what I say is text box 1's text. We're going to set text box 1's text to some empty text. And that way, after I've added a name, then it goes back to add a student. I have all these names in this list, and I kind of want to clear it out. So what you can do is actually go here and then say do it. I right-clicked on that, and now I bet if I add another name like Sally, that list will have been cleared because I created the empty list with listed. I threw out the old one and started into a fresh list. So now we have the ability to add student names. Sally, Kim, Harold, Carl, Walter, Bob, Corey, and Sue. We should have enough names that we can scroll now. Yeah. So now we have a list of names. I guess what we want to do is to be able to shake this app and have it choose a student's name. So how do we do that? In the designer, we're going to need a sensor. We're going to need an accelerometer sensor that can sense when this app is shaking. And we can say when the accelerometer sensor knows that we're shaking, then we're going to do something. Well, I think what I want to do is instead of have it show the name on the screen, I want to have it say it out loud. So I'm going to go to, where is my speech, text-to-speech? There it is, it's under media. Text-to-speech, and then when I'm shaking, I'm going to speak some kid's name. Well, fortunately for lists, there is a pick a random list item. In the list up here, we're going to go and get that getter again from the list of names. So now, when I shake this phone, it's going to randomly say somebody's name. The hard thing is, I'm using an emulator here, and you can't shake an emulator. It just doesn't work. I wonder if I can get my screens back here. There we go. You cannot shake the emulator. So you would need to run this on a real device in order to test it out. Or what I can do is actually I can take advantage of button 1. I'm going to say when button 1 long click. And I'm going to do the same thing that I would do when shaking when I long click button 1. So I'm just making a little cheat in here. So I'm going to add Larry, Curly, and Mo. And now when I long press this button, it's going to act like I've shaken it.
Larry.
So it chose Larry.
Moo.
Mo. It said Moo, but it's Mo.
Larry. Moo. Larry. Larry. Moo. Larry. Curly.
Okay, I thought we'd eventually get around to Curly. So this app lets you type in student names, and then when you shake the device, or in this case when you hold down the add button, it will randomly speak a student's name to be called on. Additions you could add to this, you could work on making a way that could save the list of student names so that when you load it back up, you don't have to re-enter the names every time. If you are a teacher who has a lot of different classes throughout the day, you could make this app so that you could save for instance, if you have 7 periods, you could save a list of students for each period, and then you could load up each class into the list picker as the period came around. It's up, really, limitations are up to you what you want to do with this. So good luck with Student Picker.